Prolonged depression rarely looks dramatic. More often than not, it looks like this. Ordinary days, when you have no energy. I can't always explain what's happening to me. On the outside, everything is normal. On the inside, I feel empty. This video is not about how to get out of depression. It's about how I live with it. I thought long and hard about whether I should talk about this at all. But maybe someone else is feeling the same way right now. This isn't a video with tips on how to fix everything. This video is about how I live with it. Hi, my name is Fergus, and this video is about what I'm going through right now. It didn't start yesterday or last week. It's not a sudden decline or a crisis. It's a state that has been going on for months. When you seem to be functioning, but inside there is a constant feeling of heaviness and emptiness. It all started with betrayal, my wife's betrayal. Not at the moment when I found out, but a little later, when it became clear that there was no going back to the way life used to be. At first, it wasn't grief, but confusion. It was as if the ground beneath my feet was still there, but it was no longer solid. I continued to do the usual things, talk, work, but inside I constantly felt that something fundamental had broken. Not in the relationship, in me. At first, there was indifference, and later came apathy. Then came thoughts. Lots of thoughts. I replayed the same moments over and over again, trying to understand where I hadn't noticed, hadn't heard, hadn't felt. I tried to find the point where everything could be stopped. And every time I returned to emptiness. Over time, the pain ceased to be acute, but became deep and constant. It was no longer a flash. It was a background condition. The joy of things that had previously seemed important disappeared. I could smile, but I felt nothing. I could be around people and still feel completely alone. A feeling of guilt appeared, even when I understood intellectually that I was not responsible for someone else's choice. Inside, the question still lingered. Is there something wrong with me? And the longer it lasted, the harder it was to distinguish normal fatigue from depression. I became less trusting, not only of people, but of reality as a whole. It was as if any calm was temporary and would inevitably be followed by a blow. This was more exhausting than the situation itself. The hardest part was that everything looked normal on the outside. There was no disaster, no screaming. But inside, there was a slow, quiet decay. And it was precisely because of this silence that for a long time I couldn't understand how bad I really felt. Over time, I began to realize that this was not just a reaction to an event. It was a state that had dragged on. Prolonged depression doesn't come on suddenly. It creeps into your life unnoticed. You get used to the reduced brightness, the constant fatigue, the lack of a future in your imagination. It took me a while to stop devaluing my condition and admit that I wasn't just going through a rough patch. I really needed help. Not advice, not motivation, not attempts to pull myself together, but support and work with specialists. I still can't say that it's all over, but now I understand where it started. Betrayal wasn't the only reason, but it triggered a process that I wasn't ready for. And perhaps the most important thing I've realized during this time is that such states do not make a person weak. They show that you are alive, that feelings are not something foreign to you, and that sometimes, in order to continue living, you first need to honestly admit how hard it really is for you. Finally, I want to say something important. I am not calling on anyone to do anything, nor am I pushing anyone to do anything. This video is not an instruction manual or a guide to action. I just decided to tell the world about my problem, not to complain or seek sympathy, but to share what I am going through. This is exactly what my specialist advised me to do, not to shut myself off and not to deal with it alone. It took me a tremendous effort to gather my thoughts and talk about it, to start filming myself. And what was most difficult was to reveal myself and my problem. I had to learn the basics of filming, script writing, and editing. And I found some relief in this. Please don't judge me too harshly. I'm sure there are millions like me. I continue to fight and will continue to talk about my journey, about decisions, about my condition, about how I'm coping with it step by step, without embellishment and without promises of quick results. Maybe it will resonate with someone. Maybe someone will recognize themselves in it. If you are interested in following this, you can stay, subscribe, write about your experience, about your problems, about the ways that help you cope. Not for me, but for others. For those who are going through something similar and are looking not for advice, but for the feeling that they are not alone. I am sure it will be helpful. You are not alone. Take care of yourselves.